Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President, graduates, and family. And Harvey, thank you so much for those two kind words. Let me begin with my heartfelt congratulations to each of you graduating today, and to those of you who share in your success. And I'm deeply honored and I'm humbled to be chosen as the 11th Chancellor of Trent University. And I know what large shoes I have to fill from previous chancellors. I'd also like to acknowledge my wife, Anna Lopez, who's in the audience today and who's worked hard for Trent over many years, and to my mother, Mary Tapscott. It's a delight to be a chancellor with a mother, and last night we were trying to come up with a term for the mother of the chancellor. We have the Queen Mum, so Mum, would it be okay if we call you the Chancellor Mum? I've actually been looking forward to my installation today with great anticipation. Now, the word installation is an interesting one. It's caused me to reflect on what else we install. Air conditioners, sinks, light fixtures, carburetors. The main thing in my world that gets installed is software. So I consider today as my official booting up. And although you may have not read the installation manual, I want you to know that I'm now fully downloaded and ready to execute. If I begin to slow down, you should feel free to demand a reboot or recompile me. And I'm hoping that I won't need an upgrade, but you may demand a new version of me. We could call it Chancellor 11 2.0. Now, those of you who studied computer science may have found that more amusing than the rest of you. In seriousness, Trent has always been a very special place for me. As you know, Trent distinguishes itself through its focus on collaborative learning, where students not only receive information, but they work together to explore and create new concepts. And that's why I came to Trent. I wanted a personalized and interactive learning experience, and even back then, Trent seemed to provide that. And it was a good choice for me. At Trent, I wasn't just a passive recipient of knowledge, but I was a co-creator of my own intellectual capacity. Now, you may not know it, but the Trent model of collaborative learning is in stark contrast to other models and models of the past. Really, the industrial age was an age of standardization, an age of scale, where something at the top pushed down standardized units to passive recipients. We had mass production, mass media, mass marketing, and there was mass education. Manufacturers, journalists, TV producers, or teachers pushed out standardized products, publications, TV shows, or lectures to audiences that were inert. When it came to the university, learning was focused on the educator. The approach was the one-way lecture, one size fits all, and students were pretty much isolated in the learning process. It kind of went like this. I'm a teacher, I have knowledge, you're a student, you don't. Get ready, here it comes. And this is all changing, of course, and the Trent model is so important because today's young students have grown up immersed in interactive media and communicating rather than growing up being the passive recipients of television like their baby boomer parents. And as a result, their brains are actually different. They learn through collaboration better than being passive recipients. But collaboration is important not just because it's a better way to learn. There's something much bigger happening. The spirit of collaboration is penetrating every institution in our lives. So learning to collaborate, in part, is part of equipping yourself for effectiveness, for problem solving, for innovation, and for lifelong learning in an ever-changing economy. The digital revolution has distributed knowledge, and it's enabling new ways of working and learning together. We're entering into a new age of participation, where collaboration is spreading around the world like a prairie fire, and teams, as Chancellor Jackson alluded to, are critical to almost everything. Rather than superiors and subordinates, peers can now come together and do almost everything, sometimes on an astronomical scale. So thousands of volunteers have collaborated to create something called Linux, the world's most important computer operating system. It's in a commons and owned by no one. Hundreds of thousands of amateur astronomers are mapping the heavens as part of something called Galaxy Zoo. Millions of people have worked together to create Wikipedia, an encyclopedia that's in 240 languages, that's 20 times bigger than Britannica, but according to the big study that's been done, the quality is about the same. And hundreds of millions of people have joined Facebook causes, each looking for ways to work with others to build a better world. So this is so important to the classes that are graduating today. Those of you in a business administration will be successful through collaborative approaches rather than through traditional command and control hierarchies. So Procter & Gamble now gets 60% of their innovations by finding the uniquely qualified minds for discovery outside the walls of the company. Companies are turning their customers or consumers into producers, or as I've called them, prosumers. Like Threadless, this is a clothing company where the customers design the clothes. And the Chinese motorcycle industry is made up of dozens of small companies working together. And they meet on the internet and in tea houses, but there's no company. There's no Harley Davidson pulling all the strings. And this is now 40% of global motorcycle production. Some of you graduating in business administration will be entrepreneurs or join small companies. And collaboration opens up a whole new world of possibilities for you, because small companies can now have all the big capabilities of large companies without the big liabilities, legacy cultures, systems, processes. And because of the internet, talent can now be outside the boundaries of a company. The world can be your human resource department. And more society is going to create wealth through networks of collaborators rather than the industrial age behemoths of the past. By the way, that word behemoth is a word that I first learned studying sociology at Trent. Now, this is important because, among other reasons, 90% of new jobs in Canada come from companies that are 5 years old or less. And if we're to overcome the so-called jobless recovery, that's a term I hate. It's actually an oxymoron. You know, it's a contradiction in terms. It's like scented deodorant or jumbo shrimp or military music. I mean, there is no such thing. Well, there's no such thing as a jobless recovery. There is no recovery unless it's inclusive. And if we're to overcome this problem, entrepreneurship and collaboration will be key. So, in addition to getting their great innovations from networking with talent outside their boundaries, big companies benefit from entrepreneurship too, and many are acquiring brilliant small companies with great innovations rather than relying solely on their own research and development departments. They acquire. It's called M&A. As the saying goes, M&A is the new R&D. Now, if you're in nursing, your working life will become one of collaboration too, as nursing has changed from being an occupation to a full profession in its own right, and healthcare is being transformed. Nurses are now truly at the heart of patient care. As nurses, you'll be working with interdisciplinary collaborative teams that involve doctors, social workers, researchers, clinicians, therapists, educators, administrators, and something new, the patients themselves. And these teams will design and execute complete wellness programs for a patient in the context of their whole life. Now, collaborating with patients is something new, because the patient used to be a recipient of healthcare. The industrial model of healthcare, as with media, production, education, everything else, clinicians delivered care to passive recipients. It kind of went, I'm a clinician, I acknowledge you're a patient, you don't, I'm going to deliver healthcare to you. I remember after I graduated from Trent asking a doctor a question during a diagnosis. I'd hurt my back. And he answered me that he was the doctor and he would do the questioning. Wow, how things have changed since then. Today, patients are informed like never before. Moms are checking their kids' symptoms on the Mayo Clinic website. And millions of people with various disorders are collaborating with each other in communities like patientslikeme.com. As an example, 20% of all patients with Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, collaborate on Patients Like Me, and the clinicians love it. The patients are learning about how to better manage their disease, and researchers and medical people are developing research as a result. Great research. In fact, health research is changing overall too. The pharmaceutical industry right now is about to be transformed as they're falling off something called the patents cliff, where they're losing a quarter of their revenue as a number of these big blockbuster drugs become generic. So the pharmas have no choice but to reinvent their industry by sharing clinical trial data. Imagine that. A commons of clinical trial data, what this will do to transform not just the industry, but lead to breakthroughs in human health. So to wrap up, I think collaboration will affect all of you in another way, and that's as citizens. You know, Trent defines and describes itself as the champion of collaborative learning that is personal, purposeful, and transformational. And many of you came to Trent because you care and you want to make a difference, not just in your profession, but in the world. And this is, for sure, a time of great transformation. And my hope is that each of you will not only be effective professionals, but that you'll be agents for change in these troubled times. I mean, I'm sure it's no revolution to any of you graduating that our economy and our society has many problems. Youth unemployment is high everywhere. And many of the institutions of the industrial age that have served us well for decades, from old models to the corporation, media, government, financial services industry, science, many of them seem stalled or unable to move forward. Leaders and institutions everywhere have lost trust. The global economy is stalled and the world is deeply divided, and it's too unequal, it's too unstable, and it's too unsustainable. And your generation is going to have to turn this around to find new solutions for this connected world, and each of you will have a role to play. You'll need to participate in change in your workplace, your community, your country, in causes you join, and as a global citizen. And you'll need to teach your children well. I'm very optimistic, and I'm convinced that as a generation and as a class, you're uniquely equipped to lead this change, because as you enter the workforce and society, you have at your fingertips the best tools ever for innovation, for patient care, for research, and for learning. And your experience at Trent will serve you well too. As citizens, I hope that you'll demand more transparent government and that politicians engage with you more than simply asking you to vote. I'm hoping that you'll bring about a whole new era of democracy. The first wave, we created these representative institutions of government, but there was a weak public mandate and inert citizenry. You can bring in a second wave, characterized by strong representation and a culture of public deliberation and of active citizenship. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that each of you become a candidate for prime minister, leader of the world, or something like that. Rather, change will happen in every community, in every home, in every business, every hospital, every clinic, every organization, every company, every nook and cranny of society. And it's an opportunity for each of you, if you will it. Wherever you are, design your life. Live the values of your generation, and continue your university experience with a full life that's purposeful and that's transformational. Live a principled life of consequence. Well, like you, I'm embarking on a new role too. You're becoming alumni, and I'm becoming a chancellor. And I'm excited about intensifying my collaboration with Trent, if you, the community, the faculty, students, and alumni want me to. My generation has not done the best job of ensuring that the world you're inheriting is a better one. But your time has come. and with you rest the hopes of the world. Carry this mantle well. And hey, if you want to collaborate with me, I'm at @dtapscott on Twitter. Thank you very much.